Hi, this is Gail and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk with you about altered books. This is the first altered book that I ever made. Actually, it's the only altered book that I've ever made. And I made it as a tribute to my husband and as a gift for him. And it was made some 20 or more years ago, and so things have changed a lot since I made this. However, you will notice that the cover is some of that handmade paper, and it did not wear well. It's worn in a couple of places. It's worn through the to the cover. The book was actually called 1952, which was, by the way, the year my husband was born. This spells out September the 26th, 1952 at 7 a.m. And this is actually a clock face and hands. Time. And it says Life's Treasures here. So this is a huge chunky monkey, as you can see. It doesn't close. I mean, no way, shape, or form. So what I have to do is I use one of these stands, and then I open it to whatever page I want to display and stick the book in here. So yeah, it's humongous. And along with the book, I have the letters that my husband and I wrote to each other when we were apart while I was doing my student teaching back in Virginia, and he was still down in Macon, Georgia. In fact, he lived a couple of houses down from where Greg Allman lived when he was living in Georgia with his Allman Brothers band. Yeah, so anyhow, back in the day. Now, before I go through this book, made, like over 20 years ago, I want to share with you what there was available to help in terms of resources for making an altered book. Now, I found out about altered books from a friend. A friend and I, Marilyn, used to make cards together, and we were getting a little bored with that, and neither of us was into scrapbooking. So we were looking for something else to get into, and lo and behold, her son, who was in college, received a gift from his girlfriend, and it was an altered book. The last time I talked to Marilyn, she couldn't put her fingers on it, but as soon as she can, I would love to share it with you, because it's very simplistic but very beautiful. And of course it was a work of love. Of course, didn't work out. They're not together now, but it was pretty cool. So some of the resources we had were not YouTube, because back then there was no YouTube. Yes, there was internet. However, if you Googled altered book, you might get, maybe 10 sites would come up. And if you were lucky, they had some still pictures. And even luckier, if they had still pictures, they created a tutorial. But for the most part, you had to read through a bunch of information to find out how to do things. So, thank goodness as the years progressed, there was more and more on the internet. I came across this, I know last time I shared with you this Collage Creations, but I had to chuckle because I've been going back through it and looking at it and getting ideas and of course ruminating a little bit, but this is using a saw blade to tear paper. A saw blade. Oh my goodness. I suppose it's a good idea if you're really, really cautious. And I know I remember back in the day, people would even use, the cutting edges off of wax paper or aluminum foil or whatever. But Yeah, saw blade. Kind of interesting, don't you think? Okay, so Marilyn and I were lucky enough that we would find some of these books, but not necessarily in the very beginning. The first one that I have is dated 2002. Okay, 2002. Now, I know that you aren't going to want to look at all of these, and I did in the last video put up the information from Amazon about the collage creations, and if I get a chance, I'll look for the information on some of these if anybody's interested. I mean, maybe it's too outdated to care, okay? But as you can see, this is called Altered Books, Everything You Need to Know, the Complete Guide, and it's 101. Suzanne McNeil Design Originals by Beth Coate and Cindy Pestka. Okay, now it goes into some really good information about how to choose a book, etc. And the one thing that I learned about choosing a book is you want one that's glued in, not sewn in. So you have to really check your pages and make sure that it's glued, not sewn. The sewn ones just don't come out as easily. And as you can see, lots of collaging and painting and sort of mixed media effects in this book. So, I'm just going through real quickly. You can see where I got my idea about the clock. Although my husband was a watchmaker and a jeweler. And so, the book does have that as a reference point. And here you can see some of the folding of the pages. This was really cool because notice they cut like the river right out of the center of the book. Very cool. Just lots of cool ideas if you're into doing things besides just pretty pages and pockets in an altered book. So cutting doors tells you how to do that. Tells you how to put drawers in. I know later on they cut a little box out to put the key in. So here's a triangular box down here. So you get the idea. Here's some mini books. We all love minis, don't we? And anyhow, so that's this one, okay? Then this was special effects, Altered Books special effects, and you can see there's a little bit of weaving of textiles. Tried that, tried this. I mean, really, I used the ideas. We both did. Marilyn and I had a lot of fun going. We would pour through these books when a new one would become available to look for new ideas. Making windows, even just finding the images was hard. And we got kind of lucky with finding images in some architectural magazines that our son had because he was going to school to become, well, initially I think an architect, landscape design, that kind of thing. So anyhow, you get the idea with this one. And they used a lot of washers, I noticed, in some of the books. So interesting. And the weaving, the paper weaving, that was so easy. And I tried that, and I even revisited that in some of my journaling cards in my boho journal, I think it was. So yeah, pop up. My friend Marilyn was awesome at this. She had a whole binder of pop-up ideas, and she had a young grandson and some nieces and nephews that she made them for. This is really cool how this, you pull that and this all pops up. You could have a message on it or whatever, but another cool idea. So that's another one. It's in the series. This one's by Lori Goodson and Betsy McLaughlin. The Art of Collage, Mariah Johnson, Pam Lambie, and Tracy Nichus. I don't know. Anyhow, but just a lot of books. That's where we got our ideas. Books and still pictures off the internet. And in terms of workshops, eventually at the craft store nearby, I did find one workshop that I went to that was mostly collage. It really had nothing to do with making an altered book, but there was some collage. This is kind of a neat way to do a tag book, attaching them at the bottom. I've always seen them attached at the side, so that's kind of a cool idea. But anyhow, lots of, this is looking more and more like scrapbooking, so things were kind of similar and influenced by scrapbooking. And that, not even the making of the albums at this point. I just really wasn't into scrapbooking. I felt, and I'm sure it's a misconception, but I felt like that was just too rigid, too, I don't know. I liked more outside of the box thinking with the altered books. Now this is Altered Books Materials Guide, Fabulous Ideas to Create Visual Art Journals by Lori Goodson, Betsy McLaughlin, Susan Pickering Rothamel. Anyhow, and again, they have the cutout for the clock there. But I like these because they talk about materials, color and glazing, paste paper. This I thought was just stunning. Just stunning. And I tried it, and yeah, mine didn't turn out nearly as well as that, but I did try. Pinata color inks. How to use color inks. I mean, gilding. So not only do you have some neat pictures, but they also give you some ideas. Craze and Crackle. How to do that. Artist Cement. Beautiful colors in that one. So, some cool ideas. And I know that you probably don't want to look through the whole book, but I just thought a quick thumb through might spark some ideas, and at least it will show you where I come from. This is how I started with altered books, and then when you see my altered book, you'll understand a little bit more. How to make altered books if you think you can't. And this one really reminds me more of scrapbooking. It kind of seems like it was highly influenced by that. Laying out the page. Oh, here. Yes. Eyelet setting. Gotta have a crocodile if you can get one. Because believe me, that old-fashioned way, oh, bang, 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 and it didn't usually turn out that well, at least not for me. Okay, so you can see, this one just reminds me a lot more of scrapbooking, so I'm not going to go through that a lot. But Designing with Words was another book that we used. It says, Inspiration Ideas for Adding Meaning to Your Scrapbooks, Cards, and Gifts Through the Power of Words. And again, scrapbooking, that was a biggie, but you still get ideas from looking at the books. Now let me see, there was something in here that I thought you might find interesting, but I can't quite remember. I went through these earlier today, just looking for some inspiration. You can see this book was well loved. It's fallen apart. Yeah, but see here, using little bags already, back in the day. So what goes around comes around is what I have found with all of this stuff. Well, this I thought was really interesting, and I have some of these Scrabble tiles, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I know one of the things early on was using board games, using the boards from the board games as to make your covers. So that was cool. And then initially too, I remember people were using, you know, the really heavy cardboard children's books and then gessoing over whatever was on the page and using that as a base to make their books. So, but this one again, I thought this was cool, and I have a page like that in my altered book with all the different pockets. Yes, thank you. And I had our love letters in there, and my daughter happened to pick the book off the shelf one day when I wasn't home. I don't know where I was anyhow, so she proceeded to read them. And then I got a lot of questions. You said you didn't this, but in this you... I was like, oh, well, things we don't tell our children, right? I really love this. I would love to make one like this. And I went looking for the spiral bound book a long time ago, and I don't believe I ever found one, but I did find one in the shape of a house. And I do want to do that. I do want to do that. But anyhow, there's that one. Only a few more to go if you're getting bored. I'm sorry. Scrapbook, slide mounts, and more. So this one uses the slide mounts a lot. You know, there are things that you might not have thought of to do with them. And you might see something in here that fascinates you. Oh, and look. We would call it slow stitching now, but hand stitching. And yeah. So, oh, and they made a little book out of the slide mounts, which there's not a whole lot to work with there to put those eyelets in. But a cool idea. So, oh, and here's a pattern to make this little pocket. Anyhow, oh, there you go. I think you get the idea. So, there's that one. Altered Books Workshop, 18 Creative Techniques for Self-Expression. Now, this one had a lot of good info in it, I thought. And it breaks it down from basic to intermediate and then creative. And here's an intro. That's a cool page. But even some of the pages like this, oh, wouldn't these be yummy papers to use in your projects? Getting started. Yes. I read in here that, how did they word it? See, they talk about the tools and the materials, the different glues. Ooh, see, I don't remember ever reading, and yes, I don't ever remember hearing about Oohoo until YouTube days. But yeah, the old eyelet tool. Ooh, give me a crocodile any day, okay? Choosing the book. This looks like a Reader's Digest. Those are the neatest size, and I've yet to make one. Okay, developing a theme, the general process. Okay, here's where I read it. It says, rip out pages. You'll add so many materials as you alter the book that you'll need to remove pages to make sure it closes. Even paint adds thickness Just open the book to a page near the front and rip out a few pages. Work your way to the back of the book, removing pages every so often. If you want the pages in the binding to be even, remove pages at consistent intervals, or just rip them whenever and wherever you feel like it. And of course, you can always rip out more pages later. That's super important because, as you see, I did not rip out enough pages. And mine is a chunky monkey. And that's one thing that I've learned from watching Tanya of Tattered Treasures work on her altered book. And she got it from 49 Dragonflies, and there's another lady. Anyhow, I'll put links in the description box once I get to my altered book. But anyhow, there's a very methodical method that you can use, and I found I really needed a methodical method doing this. Again, here they're talking about cutting windows, and variations on a theme. Okay, and there's some more of the folding. Yeah. I want to try this one because this isn't just like this. It's different. And I'm not sure how they got that from looking at that. I can't quite tell, but I think I know. And I read, and it doesn't tell how to do it. So I want to try that one. But anyhow, as you see, there's a lot in here. Now we have some intermediate techniques. See, they're making niches and putting in objects, showing how to add texture using bubble wrap and other things. Collaging a cover. Bunch of washers. They use washers a lot, but you know, washers are kind of heavy. So, well, that was kind of unique, wasn't it? Look at the wire there. It's setting things on the edge of the little window. That's kind of cool. Adding drawers. That's always fun to add drawers. But that takes up a lot of your space in an altered book. So it depends on what your purpose for your altered book is, I suppose, as to what you add or don't add. Adding pop-ups. Pop-ups really are not nearly as complicated as you would think. Again, here's some yummy pages that would be good to use in your own book, huh? Okay, well, the last one that I have here, it's called Archival Photo Tinting. And I don't think that really applies much, but it had some neat clip art. And I found this Life is Full of Angels. I really want to use that in, I want to do a journal, an angel journal, and that will be cool in there. And also, I thought, this was cool clip art. It says cut and copy clip art. So I guess you have permission to do that. But this page I thought was kind of cool to perhaps use in my ancestral journal that I've been working on. So there you have it. Some books that you might want to use as resources, and who knows, there might be a lot better resources out there now, but we have YouTube and the internet, so not necessarily necessary to go out and buy a book, is it? So I'll leave you with that, and then in my next video I will show you my altered book. Alrighty. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you gained something from that, and I will talk to you later. So, get out there and create. Make something beautiful. Until next time, bye-bye.